The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Football fans, the time is now.
Give me a hell yeah!
For the football show you never knew you wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Broken Helmet.
Coming to you live on tape on this Saturday, October 18th, 2025. It is the best show you have never heard of. It is the Broken Helmet. Rich Eggy here in the driver's seat. And to get in touch with the show, you can reach us at brokenhelmetshow@gmail.com or on X at Broken Helmet Pod. So today, on a very special episode of the Broken Helmet, we have a guest, a name and a blast from the past, at least for me, and that is the great Jeremy MARKS-PELTZ. How are you doing, sir?
Rich Eggy, it is a pleasure to be coming to you live on tape.
It is live on tape. That's the way it is.
How the hell are you, man?
Good, man. Yourself?
Things are good. I'm rocking the Miami Hurricane shirt.
Whoa!
Disaster.
Disaster.
You know what I mean?
That's not how this works.
And
They do this. They do this almost every year, and we keep falling for the same crap.
well, where do you point the blame last night?
I mean, I think every unit other than special teams deserves some of it. I mean, if we're doing blame pie, Carson Beck is first.
Oh, it's got to be, right?
4
I mean-
interceptions, 3 of them were definitely on him. You know,
And
if you're gonna
two were just, well, in my opinion, 2 were egregiously bad. That one where he just threw it up and he kind of like, he thought the hit was coming and then he just kind of like opened his shoulders and flung it.
nailed
It was
it.
like, that was going nowhere, dude. That was going straight in the toilet. And then the other one was the final one, which we talked offline on text. You have no problem with that play call?
No, I hated the play call.
Oh, you did? Okay.
The only thing about that interception, so Carson Beck after the game, and we were at the game, and like, I mean, being at the game is awesome, but it's also like you don't get a grasp of like half of what's going on until then you actually watch it back. Like for me, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a football dork and like seeing, you know, why stuff happens. But
Yeah, you got to crunch the all 22.
yeah, exactly. So Carson Beck said after the game, like he kind of threw Elijah Lofton, you know, the tight end he was throwing the ball to, under the bus. And I was like, dude, even if you're right, which you probably are, like, what the hell are you doing after that game?
Well, what was he trying to point the blame to?
He said, I mean, I don't know what the question was, but he said that the play call, like he thought worked, and that, you know, the receiver ran the wrong route, which I watched that. I've watched that pick about 10 times. I will say, like, I am 99% sure he's right.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. That pick is like the number one Madden interception ball that has been in the game since the 90s. Like, that is the throw to the sideline, you know, in with a ton of space, with not a lot of zip on it. It's getting picked off every time. If you watch the replay, it was I think it was a linebacker, was it not? I don't remember the guy's name.
They had, I think it was a safety blitz or whoever the guy was on the edge.
Well, he faked the blitz and then he held back and he immediately beelined to the flat. And he saw it from a mile away.
Yeah, well, but they had somebody that was supposed to be Lofton's guy that he would at least like chip. He came in unblocked. So like when you come in unblocked, like usually, you know.
Oh, you're talking about the blitzer.
Yeah, the blitzer comes in unblocked.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think that, you know, I think Miami, that was by design. I don't think there was like a bust or anything. So he comes in unblocked, like normally, then like Carson Beck is like throwing hot, and there's one guy, one guy that he's trying to throw the ball to. And like, I think Lofton in that spot is supposed to just like get to a space and sit down and be somewhere, you know, where he can get the ball. And he was running.
He just kept running.
Yeah, he was running upfield, and then he, you know, makes a beeline back when he realizes that, you know, he's supposed to be one place and the ball is going another. But I hated the play call. I mean, you got a guy that said he's thrown 3 interceptions already.
That's my point.
And you're
What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, if they complete that play, it's a 5-yard pickup. Maybe the guy goes out of bounds, but you're asking a guy that's thrown 3 interceptions to throw with an unblocked defender in his face. Like,
Yeah,
there's
well,
way more bad than good that can come out of that.
and step back once from that, and let's just talk about situationally. Are you going to get a touchdown? Is that what you're aiming for? Right? Because if you're going to be passing the ball, you're probably going to be trying to pick up chunk yards. And I guess with 30 something seconds left, you're going to be trying to do that in order to put you in a better position to take a shot at the end zone to win the thing outright. And if I'm Miami, that's not my thought at all. My thought is kick the field goal. Let's get to overtime. Our defense is kicking ass, and hopefully they make a stop and our offense can get in.
Yeah, I think they were going for the touchdown. I think it was,
Wow, that's aggressive.
Well, I never like it's one of those situations where it was like 3 minutes left when they got the ball and they had 3 timeouts, and I think you see, can you pick up a couple first downs quickly, and then if so, then you are aggressive. If you're struggling and matriculating the ball downfield, then I think you go for the field goal.
Oh, matriculating, good one.
My limited vocabulary.
I'm the same way.
But here's the thing, and some of this is deserved, and some of this I think is a little undeserved for Mario Cristobal. If they play for the field goal, and especially if they lose, people are bitching left and right about him. Conservative Mario.
I guess depends. I'm risk averse. So when I'm watching that game, that's all I wanted, right? But I know that that's not the modern thinking. But back to Cristobal.
No, I just think it was a spot where he was aggressive. I wouldn't say super aggressive, but it was aggressive, and it backfired. And so it's kind of like even though I think each game is different, but it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because he's been conservative and risk averse, many times before. And this time he was, going for the touchdown, or seemingly going for the touchdown.
You would think that was why he was passing in that spot.
Yeah. And as bad as Beck was, he was in a rhythm on that last drive. Malachi Toney, who was, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's really good.
He was, him and CJ Daniels were the two guys that were sensational, while everybody else either stunk or, were not playing up to their level that they were playing at. But those guys were in a rhythm. So I don't mind the decision to throw. But the play call was bad. And look, we deserved every bit of that loss.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Outplayed, outcoached, outschemed.
Speaking of which, you had made that one post on X today, and these two plays are insane, right? You can see that on your screen.
Yeah.
So if you watch this on the first play, watch the far away safety and watch the angle he takes on this. Now, obviously, there's that mesh here. These two guys pick each other, but where is he going? Where was he going? What was that? Look at him run. You're not going to catch him, and you're going to run flat like that across.
Well, then I watch the best. They're two. It's frustrating as hell. But now after the game, it's kind of funny. But go back to the beginning. When Bell is crossing.
Oh, right here.
And they're in man coverage.
Look at that.
And you got the linebacker, the backup linebacker, freaking bumps into 29 OJ Frederic.
Yeah.
So easy catch for Bell.
And that guy doesn't need any separation, right? Yeah. He doesn't need any more than he's going to get anyway from his speed.
And then, can we curse on this?
Yeah. Oh, I curse all the time.
Nice.
Have at it.
Yeah, and then the shit that's happened with defenses ever since Manny Diaz was here. You got guys tripping all over each other. You got 7 is wiping out 6 at the end of this.
I know. Well, look who is that? 7 and 6, right? 6-7, 6-7. These two cut across, and where did they think that they were going to catch him? Like, did they think that
Well,
they were
so
going to catch
six.
him?
Well, so six had. I don't know. It was the number one
Yeah,
receiver.
whatever. That guy that guy on
Whatever the
the
receiver,
far
the receiver
side there.
towards, the receiver towards the far numbers. But
But now that guy doesn't have the ball. So now you've got
but
to.
his recovery is like he was like playing in quicksand.
He runs flat. And then the other guy, 13, who, when he turns his head and he sees that they have it, he's like jogging. He's not even like, that's like not a, you're the last guy, man. You're the last guy. Pursuit angles, that's you. You got to aim for that cone and you got to get there. And fucking, they just ran right through. It was amazing. And then the next play is no better. The next play, this one was also crazy. Right? Here we go.
Is this the same one?
This is the second. You posted two. This was the second one, but it's the same deal. Like the guy cuts across.
He runs like right through the middle of the defense.
Yeah, runs right through the middle of the defense. And look, the cornerback in the far corner of the screen, when he finally realizes what's going on, he breaks flat. Like, where are these like, what are you doing? It was just crazy to me. And number six on the far side here, right? He has an eye on this play from the get-go.
Yeah.
And look at him run laterally across the 25. And then he's behind. And you're going to catch him? Good luck.
So you remember like the horror show of Miami's defense last year, which is why.
Yeah, it was not great.
I mean, Cam Ward, I'm not saying he was the best quarterback ever to play at Miami, only 1 year. He played the way, though, he played the position last year is better than anybody I've ever seen at Miami. And yet, we can't even get to the play. We can't even get to the ACC championship because the defense is horrific. Our defense this year, tackling was so much better. Like, he had, fewer plays. Guys were aware. They were, not shooting out of their gaps. They weren't running over each other. Last night, I mean, it was like the 2024 defense came back.
Yeah, it was not a good showing. And Bain was quiet, but I mean, what are you going to do? Because, he gets double teamed, most every play. But that guy's just a man among boys. But I was expecting a little something out of him. Quiet night.
Yeah, no, he got. I mean, Louisville's offensive line was supposedly rated like one of the worst O lines either in the country or like in the Power Four. I mean, they dominated Miami's defensive line.
The defensive line was super quiet.
And Bain was, I mean, it wasn't, he had a few, hustle motor plays and a couple times where he got pressures. But I mean, this wasn't like getting double teamed and like that's the only way he can't influence the quarterback. I mean, he was getting, once, the linemen's getting their hands on them. And
that was like end of play.
Yeah, it was done. He lost so many reps against an O-line that is supposed to be garbage, and they carved Miami's D-line up last night.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate game in many aspects: coaching, performance, quarterback play, even your big time studs like Bain. It was just quiet. But I forget who it was. It might have actually been I don't know if it was you or it might have been Mike Ryan. Somebody had wrote, like, we had one of these games in us, so here it is, which is true. I mean, that's kind of the case for all these
that
big
sounds
teams.
like a Mike Ryan thing to say.
It might have been. I forget where I saw it on Twitter, but somebody had said that. But I kind of feel like that's 75% of the top NFL, NCAA teams, football teams nowadays. Like, I think there's going to be very, very few and far between teams that just run the table and are just studs at this point, right? Like, everybody's going to have a stinker.
Yeah, I mean, here's the tricky part, though, Rich, is that, and this is part of playing the ACC, which, I mean, I think the ACC is a better conference in terms of good teams than people give it credit for, but it's not top heavy. You don't have, aside from if this Miami team is a great team, you don't have elite teams. You didn't last year. So it's not an SEC team where it's like, by game 3 or 4 whether they're legit or not.
Sure.
You don't know that with this team. I mean, last year it started 10-0, but the warning signs were there when you saw the defense, as great as Cam was. And this year, I mean, Notre Dame, that was the best team that we had played since probably, the 2008 or 2017 game against Notre Dame where we waxed them at night. I mean, USF they're still ranked. I mean, the Gators and FSU, I don't think either one of them are good, but I don't think they're like complete slouches.
No, on any given Saturday.
Yeah, but I just like I think I was thinking about this right now at this point. It wouldn't surprise me if, like you said, this is the stinker. This is the game they laid an egg and they go 11-1, or they end up 8-4, and you have a quarterback that's just.
I think it'd be tough to see them at 8-4, but I understand your point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. It's not, look, I mean, anything can happen in terms of, when you get into the playoff. It certainly does not seem like a team that, can play, or can beat, the Ohio States of the world. But it's definitely could be.
Don't know, but I would tend to agree right now.
Yeah, it could definitely be a top 4 team, but this could also be a team where the running game isn't as good as we think, because they also struggled against FSU to run the ball. Carson Beck, wildly inconsistent, and the defense isn't as good as we think. And then there are too many holes for this to be, whatever you want to call it, 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. Like, it's kind of like last year. And I don't know,
I think they have enough to get to the playoffs, though, right? And then when you get to the playoffs, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I think that they're playoff bound. Again, you'll never know, because like you alluded to last year, they were 10-0 and then came to a screeching halt. But once you get to the playoffs, then you're looking for your optimal performance out of the team. And I think that this team's, ceiling is pretty high. Like, I think they have it in them. Whether or not that all comes together, that's another question. And last night, I think that was the deflating part. This was a game where if you are that team and you're going, you want to win the championship, like, you don't lose that game last night. And I think that was the most upsetting thing to me.
Can we also punt these fucking weeknight ACC games into the sun?
I was going to ask that before, because I saw your people were talking about the traffic on X, and I saw that your one response. And then there was also responses about the play announcer, the PA announcer in the stadium.
Oh my God, that guy
sounded wasted or something. What was that all about? There was a lot of empty seats. So let's start with the empty seats. There was nobody there. Why?
I think there were more people there but it's typical South Florida. Like, there's traffic, or you like rolling in by midway through the first quarter. It wasn't as good as it could have been.
And those not familiar. The Hard Rock Stadium, Dolphin Stadium, before that Joe Robbie, it's very similar to, I'm from the New York area. It's very similar to Giant Stadium and any of these other football stadiums that are not anywhere close to where Miami or the school is. It's in the middle of nowhere. You got to take 95 to get there. Then you got to cut across, and it's just traffic. It's just tons of traffic to get there. So at the beginning of the game, there just wasn't a lot of people, and everybody keeps saying Miami, Miami, Miami. It's like it's not there. So it's a pain in the ass to get to.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you'd hope at that point you got 60,000 people or whatever, 65,000 people, and everybody's just fired up after a 5-0 start. The PA announcer.
Yeah. So then, what was that about?
So they, the first series, Louisville fakes the field goal, and this should have been a warning sign that like Miami players were not locked in last night, because they faked the field goal. It's not a goal to go situation. It's like the ball's from like the 4, and like the first down is at the 2, and the holder gets to the 1 yard line, and you got a couple Miami players celebrating like they held them where they got, after all of that is, after all of that is settled, like maybe 5 seconds before Louisville, is over the ball, he goes, 1st and 10, Miami.
I think we actually have some audio of him after the actual game. Here it is. Hold on one second. Let me get this clip. Clip 4.
Get off your asses. Party time.
Yeah, see, there he was. He was half in the bag already. So he was ready to rock and roll.
I mean, he was obviously there pre-gaming beforehand.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess he had multiple mistakes throughout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's that. There were multiple, like, he didn't understand when you have an unsportsmanlike conduct after the play. You don't repeat the down, you lose the down, and then the yards get to hack. So there was like he threw me off at one point because, it was a 3rd down and 20, and it's like 2nd down and 20. I guess I wasn't like paying attention like close enough at that point, but I got thrown off thinking it was a 2nd down.
So when it went to the next down, you thought there was one extra.
And then this is always great. Like when he would after a score, he would do the soccer thing, like the backwards score. Miami, the score right now, Miami 10, Louisville 14.
Okay, all right. The Jimmy Cephalo touchdown against them.
Touchdown, Miami against them.
Do you know how long I've looked for that clip, by the way? I've never found it. It's like gone in the ether.
I know.
It was one of my favorites.
When they got rid of $7.90 the ticket, our old stomping grounds, like they probably just like burned all the tapes.
Oh, I wish they hadn't. But that's a good point right there. Going back to set the frame for everybody. So Peltz and I actually were at University of Miami together. I was actually in the graduate program for journalism, and Peltz was undergrad. And so then I tried to hop on to the radio program down there, which what was UM radio called? Was it UM Radio? I can't remember for the life of me.
WVUM.
WVUM. That's right. And I always
to anytime you have a band that used to not be popular, like Coldplay or Radiohead, but whenever they had their first hit single, you can guarantee that it would not be allowed to be on the air.
Whoa, kid. That's a good pull right there. Steel trap. The only thing I remember, and sometimes
DJing there.
The only thing I remember from all of those carts and everything, there was one, and sometimes I'll say it randomly in my head. I don't say it out loud, but oven mitts. You remember that? Do you remember that?
But yeah.
There was some kind of cart, and then in the middle of the plug, and I forget what it was for, they would just go, oven mitts. And so it just rattles in my head.
Do you remember the PSA? The PSA where it was like, how do you feel about condoms?
No, I don't remember that one. I don't like them.
It's like the opening sentence. How do you feel about condoms? And these weren't, they're not commercials. You weren't allowed to do commercials on student radio. It was just like
right.
PSAs that probably get distributed to like every station around the country.
Oh, and I remember one throwback you were like super stoked, and it was such a good get, was Dick Vitale. You landed a Dick Vitale interview.
That's right.
Remember that? And then I think you got kind of heated because you're like, yeah, all he wanted to do is plug his fucking alarm clock. Didn't he have like a talking alarm clock or something he was plugging?
He did, and my dad was so excited after that interview that he begged me to get an alarm clock for him, and I got one for his birthday.
Oh, look at that. Cha-ching. Good for you. Does he still have it?
He had it for long. So my parents, who are like in South Miami, like about half hour south of the stadium, you got a lot of New York, New Jersey guys. So
yes, of course. Snowbirds and all the migrants.
And like they moved about 6 months ago to another place in Miami, but like the house was like, I mean, it was an 80s and 90s time warp because they're hoarders. They would keep everything. So I know
it well.
Like I got that alarm clock probably in like 2005 or so. I'm sure.
Yeah, that was it was. I think it was 2004 because I graduated and I was out at 2004, like the end of 2004. So it was probably around that. But whatever. Yeah, I mean, a year here, a year there. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, so like I'm sure that alarm clock existed. It may not have made it to their new house, but I'm sure it existed. In the ruins of all the other things that they had.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe some garbage picker just grabbed it and now it's just sitting on somebody's dresser. Be like, I can't believe somebody wanted to throw this out. This thing's the greatest. So we were at I got to know Jeremy at WVUM. We became good friends, and I ultimately graduated before you. And then I landed at 790 Ticket, and sure enough, Peltz graduated, and then he was at 790 Ticket. He was doing updates. I was doing production for the OJ and Sid show. Before that, it was What's Poppin' with OJ and Mark Eisenberg, and before that, it was I was with Defo. And then I ultimately
and I
left.
with some turns of the legendary Defo.
Yeah.
That was my first. I mean, I was like
you were updates during his show.
Anchor. Yeah, updates during the show, and then Defoe's producer, and then Phil Shane, who I don't know if he still does soccer.
Phil Shane, the over the top production voice, but very good.
Oh, great voice.
Great voice.
Long time, one of the voices of soccer.
Yeah, I used to hear him. I want to hear him on Sirius a lot, like flipping through for soccer advertisements. I haven't heard the voice in a while though.
But this, you remember this? This was beyond like awkward. One of my first like real awkward radio situations. So Phil was great, super nice guy. It was my first time doing professional updates, so he gave me some pointers and stuff. The middle of one of the shifts, they let him go.
Oh, I remember when they let him. Yeah,
I don't remember if it was in between updates or if it was like at the end, because he did updates for Joe Rose.
Yeah, he was the morning update guy.
Yeah,
for all the morning ones.
Yeah, and it's and then he like walks out. I don't remember if he said like goodbye to me or just like did it. I'm sure. Yeah, if you get let go, you probably don't talk in it. And it's just like wow. I was like, this guy is taking me under his wing, and it's like now, even though I didn't take his job, it's like
it was you.
Perception is I took.
You did it. You got the guy fired. Way to go. Way to go, Jeremy.
You'll get nothing and like it.
That was your final words to him. Then he walked out the door.
It was. You have a really good memory. I remember that.
Yeah, no, that was what you said to him. It was unfortunate. I was like, wow, the guy showed
you
everything.
Back to soccer.
He's sitting there in his car.
That's great. That's just great.
And fucking Peltz kid took my job.
The reality is he's probably like, dude, I have like about 4 or 5 other like great jobs. Like,
what? Yeah, I think he was just an announcer across everything. And this was, before the internet had taken over. And so he was just a grinder. So I'm sure he had other gigs going. But, and again, I knew that he was on soccer because I used to hear him on Sirius quite frequently.
But you had, so back to 790. So you've had a bunch of the guys on this podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, so me and my brother started doing, so when I moved back up to Jersey in 2007, that was like YouTube had just come out and some people had just started doing internet radio. And this was like the beginning stages of, it was like Kevin Smith and Jay Moore and this guy, Alex Jones. You might have heard of that crazy guy, Joe Rogan. And so I came back and I shoulder tapped a couple of my friends, one guy that I went to see Connecticut School of Broadcasting with. And I was like, dude, let's just do our own radio show. I bought a board, microphones, the whole 9. And then I just didn't do anything. Just decided, why do I want to do, something that I actually went to school for? And, I don't know, I'll just get a regular job. And so anyway, 15 years after that, I decided to pick it up. 10 years after that or whatever. So, but then I started doing the show, and this guy that I knew from Jersey that I had done like a low end radio show before I went down to Florida. I shoulder tapped him. We were going to do the show. He bailed. And then my brother was nice enough. My brother joined the program, even though he's got no broadcasting experience whatsoever. But he joined, and we've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. So we've been doing it. It's been fun. We talk football. We primarily have gotten into basically gambling and the gambling aspect of it, but we'll just talk fantasy and this, that, the rest any given week. But this year I was like, what?
Teams that are combined 3-11.
I mean, it's just, he's a Raiders fan. I'm a Giants fan. We haven't had anything to talk about for God knows how long. You bailed, you jumped ship. You told me you're a Packer fan now.
Yeah, I'm a front running Packer fan.
But I mean, you paid your dues, with a terrible Miami Dolphin franchise forever. But anyway, this year then I said, you know what? I should just do interviews. Fuck, I know enough people. I could just throw out flyers and talk to them and just have a good hang. Right. And so I did have on Defo. I was able to bring Deef on. It was actually National Radio Day, so that was pretty cool because we were just talking about the evolution of radio to that point. And then I had Zach Krantz, who is now Backyard Radio at Backyard Breaks. He does Live at $1, which is a card breaking podcast. Well, not a it's a podcasting. It's a card breaking show on. Are you familiar with Whatnot? The Whatnot app?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's just an auction. It's an auction app, and you put it up on your phone, and then you're sitting there, and whatever you want to auction on, there's stuff there: cards, shoes. Chicks can get their fancy bags and stuff, and then you just auction it. And he does this show that's like all day. He posted it on Facebook. I tuned into it, and sure enough, there he was. So I brought him on. We talked about card breaking and the card industry, and then I'm like, I gotta get Peltz. I know he's around.
Brother, when you say that chicks you go for their fancy bags, that means that you were on that app auctioning off to get your wife something at one point.
No, I would have auctioned off her Louis, but I mean, she got the Louis as a pushing president. There we go. Now, I mean, had I hit the lottery at any point and just had money, flying everywhere, maybe I would have visited the Whatnot app and would have tried to make a bid on some of these delicious female items that they like. But no, it's not to be had.
Female items.
Yeah, oh, look at it. I don't even know. Louis is the one I know. He had Louis, Gucci, and this, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So I had Krantz on, and then I was able to flag you down, and I've been chasing you for a couple of weeks, but I'm glad I got you on. Now you're at Good Karma Brands, correct?
Yeah, so I'm at so our company's called Good Karma Brands. I'm at ESPN West Palm, which is from a radio standpoint, it's the ESPN radio affiliate in Palm Beach County.
Now I see Evan Cohen on ESPN. Has he left? Because wasn't that one of his home stays? Was that station?
So Evan's always been with us, and with us, I mean more the company. But I mean, he did a show for 20 years at ESPN West Palm, and he's one.
Yeah, he was a West Palm guy.
Friends. Yeah. So then, I don't know, 2011 or so, he got an opportunity to be the morning host on Mad Dog Radio, and he was doing that. He moved up to New York for most of the year, and still did the show. The afternoon drive show with us
down there.
Yeah,
from up here, you mean?
Yeah, from up. But he would come down though, at least once a month or so. And I would, I was everything from an update anchor to this top 5 at 5 segment, or 5.
Oh, I think I remember. Didn't you used to plug those once in a while too, either on X or on Facebook?
Yeah, but I mean, most importantly, I was the punching bag.
Well, every show needs one.
I know. It was in that, and some of the best shows, because I have done some really dumb shit, and I'm not making fun of I am making fun of myself, but I'm not.
You should. Why wouldn't you? I make fun of myself all the time.
But there would be things. So I would tell Evan, off the air, and I knew it's as soon as this happened, I'm like, forget about whatever else is going on. It could be a Monday after a brutal Dolphins loss, major college football controversy or whatever. And the lead on that show would be whatever dumb situation that I was involved in.
Which is perfect. It's what you want.
Or whatever JMP moment.
That's the money. That's the money right there.
I mean, all right, so I'll give you one example. So, my last real big play-by-play gig, I did high school football and this NAIA school.
And you used to do some play-by-play, right? Or PA announcing, I should say?
Yeah, well, mostly play-by-play. I did play-by-play for FIU.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Mario Cristobal was there. I was in the midst of him, building that program from scratch. And so I did it for 3 years, 2 years with George Sedano at ESPN. And so after the 2010 season, they moved to another I think 790 of the games. Then they moved to another station. And they basically, did not bring me back, brought somebody else in. How I found out that they didn't bring me back was through a Barry Jackson article in the Miami Herald.
Oh, really? You got caught by like the modern day? Oh, yeah. I found out on social.
Yeah, exactly. So I never was actually officially fired because nobody from FIU actually told me that.
Oh,
on the air.
Everybody wants their firing story. You got yours in a paper. Fucking good fun is that?
That's just the appetizer here. Here's the entree of the story.
Oh, delish.
So the first game that year, I guess I was, sweaty or whatever, just thinking up the joint, literally. So after that game, Mark Hochman, now an afternoon.
Oh, the Hawk.
2 a.m., but he's
still doing afternoons?
Yeah. Still doing this thing down here, but he was the program director at the time at 790 and was doing the Levitard stuff. So he calls me and, he's like, in the nicest way possible. He's like, I hate to ask a personal question. He's like, do you have body odor issues? Or I was like, what do you ask? And he tells me that he got mentioned, somebody from FIU. I'm sure it was the athletic director at the time, Pete Garcia. Mentioned how I was really smelly. So whatever, that part embarrassing, but don't think about it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So then I hear after I was, unofficially fired, George Sedano told me, because George knew ahead of time that he wasn't going to be brought back.
Okay.
But then he told me when he did some digging of why they didn't bring me back, he said, well, apparently they said that there was an issue early on in the year that they addressed with me. And that was part of the reason I wasn't brought back, which was obviously the smelling.
You're cracking my balls, man.
Come on.
So then till this day off the air, but for the next, 10 years of doing shows with Evan, periodically it would come up. JMP was the play-by-play announcer at FIU until he was fired for smelling.
That would have been an open. Every time you came into the studio or turned on your mic, I'd be like, did you shower yet? Did you shower?
There was some of that.
Oh, I'm sure. Get you a big tub of Irish Spring. Just leave it on your desk.
Just bring 700 deodorants.
7 deodorants.
After each drive. All right, interception FIU.
I never heard that story. That's hysterical. And did Cohen just beat that drum for a while?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
And it helped because, at that point, I was still wanting to be a, serious play-by-play broadcast, which is from when I was 5 or 6, on to, when I got married, I wanted, that was my dream to be a,
Yeah. Do you have any of the tapes? Because not that you should post them, but the people that are unaware, Peltz doing play-by-play was phenomenal. And that was one of the coolest things about WVUM was I never wanted to be play-by-play. I just wanted to do sports talk radio, right, and have fun with it and kind of do. Back in the day, I really loved the Opie and Anthony show, and I thought there was a pathway to combine the Opie and Anthony approach towards sports, which now basically is all of sports talk radio. But it was an original idea at the time, I swear.
Yeah. Dan stole it from you.
Yeah, everybody stole it from me. And so I joined WVUM, but all of these kids, like you, Azer, Eric Casilla, I forgot his name. There was a kid from Boston. All you guys really wanted to do play-by-play, and it was like a competition. And I think
we had a murderer's row. Before we had a murderer's row at 790, we had a murderer's row at VUM.
VUM was really good, dude. Think about everybody that came out of it. You, Azer, to speak of the two, and your play-by-play. I was like, I can't do this. Yeah, and then one point, I actually talked to Azer. I was in one of his charity leagues, and I'll laugh about it with him on text time to time. I'm like, yeah, well, the first thing I ever got stuck with on WVUM was doing volleyball. You guys assigned me to do volleyball with Azer,
Gosh.
and I'm sitting
That's the
there, and I'm just
hardest
like,
fucking sport to call.
oh my god, I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
Hold my goddamn hand, man.
what am I doing? I don't even know what's going on. And Azer just talked the whole time. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, you were really good at it, dude.
No mistakes.
Nah, I mean, you guys were really good. Do you have? And my original question was, do you have any of those tapes?
I have like some cassette tapes, but I mean, I can't. I have not bothered to. I guess it's kind of like your radio equipment story. Like I haven't like
Yeah,
gone into buy an old cassette tape player. I mean, me Azer. I mean, the big one is Jesse Agler, who like ran.
Yeah, he went California Dodgers, maybe
play-by-play broadcaster for the San Diego Padres.
Okay.
And he's insanely good. And he was like one of those guys that you knew when he was there, like this guy was, destined to be big. And Adams made a huge name for himself as the CBS Sports fantasy football host.
Yeah, fantasy football today. I watch the show pretty regularly.
I remember other guys. Andy King, who was with us at 7-9. I mean, he did a lot. Yeah, he became like
Buuuuuuuudy podcast. He's business side, big wig.
2 a.m. for a while, and so we had some good guys.
I mean, it was one hell of a bullpen. I'll tell you what. A lot of success out of that, but. That was our initial experience meeting each other was doing WVUM and the radio show, and stayed friends throughout. And then 790, and I went up north, and you continued on, and now you land over at Good Karma. Do you do anything on the radio at all anymore, or is it primarily all from a business aspect?
So I did on-air stuff until probably around the pandemic, and I was the content director. And it was kind of like, both kind of ran its course, and I was at the point where I was just super thankful that, I basically did anything that I wanted to do there,
right?
Play by play, hosting afternoon drive, hosting evenings, being a PD for 8 years, a bunch of other, just odds and ends jobs that I had wanted to do.
Yeah, if you were involved, if you liked radio, this is like the checkbox of all the things you'd like to experience.
Yeah, and so after the pandemic, I became, my position is called senior partnership coordinator, but it's basically like, running the back end of sales, working with our like front facing salespeople. We call it protecting the revenue. Like they go, it's offense, defense.
Good terminology.
They go out, they make
good way to think about it.
They make a lot of money for the station, and I'm the one making sure the spots run and all this other stuff, and not screwing up that we don't. So I've been doing that for 5 years, and I'm at my happiest there.
That's great. Well, that's where you want to land, right? I mean, ultimately, you try to weave through everybody's career kind of has a similar trajectory. There are successful careers where you start off, you build, you figure out where you want to navigate to, and then you kind of gravitate toward the places that that you're most comfortable with and where your strengths truly lie. And that's if you're fortunate enough, which sounds like you have been, right? I know that some people are going to be like, that didn't happen to me. Fuck, well, I'm still digging a ditch.
I think you and I and a lot of other people, are in the same boat in terms of you have, that thing that you want to do, come hell or high water, and then you realize, you prioritize family, you prioritize happiness, you may prioritize, being financially stable. And your your main objectives change. At some point, I wanted to be a play-by-play broadcaster, and I got to do, not at the level that I wanted to, but then I get married, and it's like, I don't want to be away from my wife, traveling the country.
That was the one early lesson, and I don't even know if it's applicable anymore, but that used to be the one foundational fact you had to accept, is that if you wanted to get into broadcasting or on air, or, or on specifically on camera, there was a good chance you were just going to have to bounce, like from state to state, from city to city, and still just hoping that you would land somewhere, right? And I think that's when I punched out. I was like, I was in Miami. I had opportunities. It didn't happen. I'll accept the reality of the situation, that, it probably wasn't me being slept on. So how can I make the best of this and you kind of move on? So, yeah, I mean, those are the facts, man. Once life comes along, you got to be like, do I keep chasing this? Do I keep doing this? Or do I just move where the cheese goes?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, power to people like, Jesse that we were talking about that, get to live his dream and, have the family that he has. So if you're able to, get both, I mean, that's amazing. But I think a lot of us are just as happy and our priorities change and, all of that. So
well,
yeah,
I'm conscious of time. I'm conscious of time here, and I know that you got to bounce it a little bit, but we didn't even get to talk about NFL. Right. I know you're a Packer fan. Just Packers tomorrow against the Cardinals. I think they're favored by, it was 6.5, still 6.5, over under 45.5, 44.5. I know you're not a betting guy, so just give me your thoughts here on what's going on with this team. Because for a team that got Micah Parsons, beat the Lions out of the gate, everybody said they were the cream of the crop. They've slowly just come back down to the pack.
Nice job of working the pack in there.
Oh see what I did there? Fucking good. I'm good. I am the greatest.
You are good.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. Yes, you are. They're kind of like the Hurricanes to me. Like we were talking about the Hurricanes, you don't know how good they are. I mean, I know the Packers are good.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, I got you. That's a fair analogy.
Look, Jordan Love will make some head scratching decisions, and he's made, he cost the Packers a game against Cleveland, in part doing that. But
I was listening to Russo. Let me tell you something. If you're going to be the top quarterback in the league, you cannot lose in Cleveland. I'm sorry, you cannot lose in Cleveland.
I mean, you cannot throw that ball and double coverage. Yeah, I mean, but I think Jordan Love, when he's on, I mean, he's a type of quarterback, you have quarterbacks that you can win with, and you have quarterbacks that you can win because. He's a quarterback that you can win because. I think offensively, and I think it's Matthew Golden, the, first round pick, first receiver that the Packers have taken since 2002.
I've got him all over my fantasy. I'm waiting for him to break out.
Yeah, I mean, he had his best game against Cincinnati, and they dialed up some more things for him. I think he's going to be somebody by the second half of the year. I mean,
that's my hope.
He may not have like 1,000-yard season, but I think he's going to potentially assert himself as their number one receiver. But I think it also comes to, is this a good defense or is this a world-class defense? And the first 3 games, they looked like a world-class defense. And even though his numbers are not, as gaudy as some people may think, Micah Parsons has made a massive impact.
Oh, he's huge. But the same thing happened. He got good numbers in Dallas, but they weren't gaudy. They were nice. Like, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't off the chart. But if you look at all, PFF stats and all these dot plots and you try to see where he measures against whatever, science project all these data miners are putting together, Micah Parsons, from a defensive standpoint, is always in the upper right tier, which is always like the best tier to be in, whatever you're talking about.
Well, and what a lot of it is like he gets pressures, which, are sometimes bigger than sacks. He speeds up, quarterbacks, rhythm and stuff. And then Rashawn Gary, who at times has been an all-pro edge rusher and other times has been, kind of just another guy. I mean, he's having a huge year. Lucas Van Ness is breaking out, first round pick from 2023, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
So I think a lot of, the the impact of just having Parsons on your team. Seeing what those guys are doing versus what they did last year, I think that kind of underlines part of what Parsons does. But I think if this is a world-class defense or top 5 defense, then I think they're a Super Bowl contender. And I'm not saying they're not, but I think I'm kind of in between them being a real contender and still needing a year to just kind of grow up.
Yeah, I think it's offense. The offense is the thing that I can't wrap my hands around. Now, I haven't watched that much of the Packers. What I try to do is I have NFL Plus or NFL Premium, whatever it is, where you can watch the games. You can watch the all 22 if you've got that kind of time on your hands. But I just try to pump through all the games with a condensed version so that at least I get to see the teams, And I haven't seen all the games for the Packers, but the ones that I watch, I'm like, they're really good, but there's just something not there yet. And I feel like it's more the offensive side of the ball than the defense. Although the defense, to your point, hasn't stood out the entire season so far, right? Like they looked really good. They came back down to earth, but it's the offense that it's like, Josh Jacobs is awesome, but he's not that guy, like he's not Bijan Robinson. Like you can win with him for sure, but I don't know if he's going to be taking over a game and getting you $175 or not that, you need that to win, and then you look at the wide receivers and they've been trying to build wide receivers. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. And a lot of that has to do with injuries, right? I mean, Christian Watson, poor guy, that kid, he just can't keep his knees healthy. It's year after year.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a level of maturity, and I'm not saying like these guys are just, totally immature, but I mean, they're so young. And I think like a lot of these, the Cleveland game, even parts of the Cincinnati game, they're in situations where there's, dumb procedural penalties, or you have holds. The offensive line has not played that well this year. But you're driving, you're, in field goal territory or on the precipice of field goal territory. And then, you get a holding call and, the next thing it's 2nd and 18, 3rd and 15, and you shoot yourselves in the foot. And I agree about Jacobs. I'm a really big fan of Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think he's great. I'd love to have him on my team.
He's not explosive. He's the type of running back that the more carries you give him, the better he is. Like, I think he's like by the 3rd quarter, when defenses, especially if the Packers are, winning the ball, winning the time of possession, like the more carries he gets, the more tired the defense is. Then
that's where he comes through,
laying down the hammer.
You remember Corey Dillon when he was with the Patriots?
Yeah.
That's a deep cut, I guess, at this point now. He's kind of old. But Corey Dillon was ridiculous on the Bengals. And then they pulled him over to the Patriots. And while he wasn't as explosive in the he was just the workhorse. And he was just this completely, utterly functional back within that offense. And I feel like that's where Jacobs kind of sits.
And then the coaching part of it. Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I mean, if he got let go, and these guys, I wouldn't necessarily put them on the hot seat, but they have 1 year left in their contract after this year. There's a new president, and the president basically came out, complimentary of Matt LaFleur and the GM Brian Gutekunst.
How do you pronounce the name? Because I've never been able to do it. And like last year, I tried to figure it out, and I actually Googled it, and I said, you know what? I'm just not going to say his name. Fuck it.
I think it's Gutekunst.
Gutekunst, yeah. I think it's
I
something.
kind of try to say it fast so that it sounds like I'm pronouncing it correctly.
German? Gutekunst? I can't,
So
there's a hard C in there that girls might be offended to. So, but you were saying that the president, whatever, was complimentary.
He was complimentary, but he's also like, I'm not, we're not talking extension yet. So if you're not extending them, and then he also said he doesn't want to have lame duck situations. So it's like, are these guys kind of on the hot seat right now?
I would think that's hard to think is a reality, only because if you were to get rid of him, who would you replace him with? Look, the NFL right now. Yeah, like the NFL right now has a pretty specific coaching problem, right? And that is that there are not that many great ones, and they are having an insane hard time trying to fill that pipeline. And I just feel because the NFL game has changed over the past, like, let's say, like 8 years, unlike anything that's happened previously, right? Between, all the rules changes that they made in the mid 2000s there that kind of neutered defenses, to the fact that they just have created so much space on the NFL field that it really translates to college, where that wasn't really the case, right? Like the NFL game kind of sat in its own space where it ran like a structure, right? And you had, every coach in organization had their own specific approach. But for the most part, it was the structure. You came in, they trained you in the structure, and then you would go from, team to team, or you would stay where you were if it worked. But you'd have to learn the structure. Now I almost feel like the NFL is learning what college is doing. And they're trying to kind of accommodate the talent that's coming in, because they're like, I don't, these guys can't fit into structure. Like, that's just not how they're built. So we got to kind of come down to them, which isn't a negative. It's just really different. And so where do you get coaches that can do that? Coordinators, this coordinator, that coordinator, this coordinator fails, you get another coordinator. Well, no, it's going to be a leader of men. So let's go get somebody like, oh my God, I forgot his name already. The coach down in Houston, right? Who was DeMeco Ryans, who was like, this guy just took off his shoulder pads like a couple of years ago, and he had 1 year as a defensive coordinator, but he took over Salah's defense. So, but it didn't matter, right? He was like kind of the leader of men. Tomlin, same deal. Not to say that they don't know football, but the struggle I think that I see in the NFL is just, where do you get the coaches? So if you're going to get rid of LaFleur, who are you going to replace him with?
No, and I don't. And also, like, one of the things, that tells you about a good coach. I mean, Matt LaFleur, whether it was, this year, next year, 3 years from now, if he's available, he's the hottest coach on the market.
Yeah, I take him. I take him the next day, which I wouldn't have said a couple of years ago, but I think he's proven his chops at this point.
What I am disappointed with coaching, like, I like more leader of men guys, or really, like, to me, a coach is somebody that, beyond, if they're a good play caller, or if you're having somebody on one side of the ball, we've been doing that too much, and you need guys that are going to build cultures.
Yes, I agree.
Mike Vrabel never should have been fired at Tennessee.
That was a joke. But Tennessee's trying to create the worst program that there is.
Yeah.
So, and they're succeeding.
Yeah, and also, Tennessee's a perfect example. So a lot of this is, the owners are more and more, you hear, about collaboration, which, like, I think is sometimes a code for, like, the owner wants more power.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we're past the days of, the Parcells and the Belichicks and, the guys that are basically like, this is my franchise. Like, your job is to give me my resources.
Right. You want me to cook? Let me shop for the groceries.
Yeah, exactly.
Not anymore.
Exactly. But, like, those New England did the right thing, as much as Bob Kraft, played part in fucking that whole process up with, Brady and Belichick. Like, he did a good thing, bringing Vrabel in after
he did the wrong thing.
It was a disaster. But Vrabel's a culture builder. And part of that, I mean, he's not an offensive coordinator, but I mean, he knew how to, he brings Josh McDaniels in and, brings somebody that can get more out of Drake May, that's, so, I mean, part of, you build your staffs, your staff's your culture builder. But there's just too much.
Well, that's been the Lions turnaround. Dan Campbell, right, has been that flat approach, like, I'll make the top line calls when I need to, but I'm getting in a coordinator on the defense, a coordinator on offense, and I'm going to let them do those things. And then I'm just going to quarterback from here.
Yeah. And, I know it's very polarizing, but, Dan Campbell's, probably signature thing on the field is, I mean, he's just, it's 4-down football, he does not. And I think that's part of the culture, he installs a culture of, like, I believe, our guys on offense, I believe this team is good enough that, like, we're going to play 4 downs.
Which is a very popular thought process nowadays, especially with the data analytics that have come in. I mean, punting is, like, frowned upon. You're gonna punt?
Yeah, and I think I think we've devalued punting and kicking a little too much. But in the case of Dan Campbell, it's like it's not even worth arguing the decisions anymore because it's just that's who he is. It's how he's going to operate. Like so at this point, wherever it is on the field, he's going to go for it.
And so long as his records stay positive and they keep making the playoffs, which Detroit hadn't seen for decades, that guy's not going anywhere. And you can't really argue because the results are there.
But I mean, most of your guys, whether it's Callahan just getting fired from Tennessee, I mean, the Dolphins have been a disaster for most of the 2000s. But I mean, under Stephen Ross, they've never had anybody. They've never had a head coach that's had any experience. They've all been coordinators. They've all been one side of the ball guys. So if you bring in Adam Gase or you bring in Mike McDaniel, you're hiring him as
Cam Cameron. He was pre Ross though, wasn't he?
Turn those thumbs in this direction.
Fail forward fast.
The great thing about the Dolphins, so they've had two good coaches under Stephen Ross. Do you know who they are?
Are you talking about good as in we would think that they're good or good as in record?
Oh, I'm saying that these guys, are one who we just talked about, Dan Campbell, is
right. Wasn't he an intern though?
Yeah, so that's my point. He was an intern. So both of the good coaches that they've had, Dan Campbell was an interim coach in 2015 and had an opportunity to, interviewed for the job. They had the opportunity to hire him. They go with Adam Gase.
Yes.
Before then, when they fired Tony Sparano, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. Crazy story.
Todd Bowles was the interim coach.
Well, okay.
Whoa! Okay, go ahead.
Todd Bowles. I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. Look, I got to give him credit. His Bucs team this year is doing way better than I thought they would. And that team and, the career Mayfield has had and where he's brought it. So I'll give Mayfield and Bowles a little bit of leeway here. But Bowles to me is still a question mark. Is he a good coach? Is he?
Well, so let me put it this way. You can have your option of Todd Bowles, Joe Philbin, Adam Gase.
Okay, I'm still with Bowles. Brian
Flores, Mike.
I like Flores.
I actually like Flores too.
Yeah.
But you're taking Bowles in that situation, right? If those are your guys.
Is Flores in there or no?
No, Flores is in there.
I'm taking Flores. I'm taking Flores.
Flores
I know what happened.
I think he's the best of the head coaches they've had, but I don't know. I just think Bowles has had more success.
Well, Bowles has had success in Tampa Bay. Remember when he was in the Jets? But again, that's the Jets, right? There's nothing that anybody can do coaching the Jets other than frown on the sidelines and just say, "Why did I accept this job?" And I hope I get another one.
Yeah, I was wrong about it, and it's early. I mean, I hope he gets still some time to. Boy, Aaron Glenn, I thought was going to be
he's gone
for them, and he
there's no chance.
Looks overmatched.
Well, that's funny because I had the complete opposite opinion of Aaron Glenn when he was with Dan Campbell, and I was like, this is Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson, and Aaron Glenn is a complete afterthought. They've got some good talent, but this is not Aaron Glenn whipping up a defensive strategy that has got other teams just shaking in their boots. And then last year, he actually had a little bit more success from a defensive coordinator standpoint than I was giving him credit for. So, but I've never been an Aaron Glenn fan. So when he got that job, and especially when he had a press conference, and I forget what he said, but he was like, he either said motherfucker or shit, or he was just cursing it. Yeah, and he was like, "This is my shit" or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm out, I'm done. I'm not. This is not going to."
The Jets would probably agree with you now.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some guys, it was when what's his face went to. I mean, he's obviously legendary, but when we were down in Miami and the Dolphins hired Saban. And I was like, Saban's just not going to work here. Not that he's not a football mind. It's just not going to work. And that was when Pro Football Talk was still small. And And I remember Florio writing stories about how he wasn't letting anybody talk to him in the hallways, and he was just
fired
nasty.
somebody for getting the wrong Debbie cakes.
Yeah, like I mean, it was just like, this shit doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work here. And it was kind of the same feel when Glenn was just like, you know what, you're gonna hire him as coach. It's not gonna work out, and then he's gonna be gone in a year. It's gonna be like a Mayo situation, which was another crazy deal.
I think one of the issues. So, like you bring up Saban, that's an interesting one because the guys that I would never want to hire are the guys that you need that coach way more than they need you. So like a Nick Saban, for example, you're paying him a boatload of money to leave college. If he fails with the Dolphins, he goes back to, he goes to Alabama, wins a ton of championships.
He got a better gig.
I'm saying 90% of people probably don't even remember that Nick Saban coached the Dolphins. And if you remember anything about Nick Saban, it's probably like, the doctors talked him out of, signing
Culpepper for Breeze
instead of Dante Culpepper. But it's Urban Meyer with the Jaguars. Like, whatever you think of him as a college coach, like he didn't need the Jaguars job. He sucks at it. It's like, fine, I'll go back to my old cushy TV job. So these guys that have, won at the highest level, whether they're college coaches or whether they've won Super Bowls. I'll tell you one that I was wrong about. I was not a fan of Sean Payton hire because I thought he'd be the exact same thing. Like,
well, Payton's career has been crazy because if you remember, he was with the Giants and I think he was the OC, and it was under Fossil. And you'd have to Google it, but I'm almost positive that he got, maybe it wasn't under Fossil. Maybe it was under, because he was down in Dallas as well, right? With Parcells, but I think it was under Fossil. Fossil like yanked his play calling duties. And then he was kind of like a lame duck coordinator. And it was like, oh man. And then all of a sudden, I think he followed himself. Yeah, I think it was with the Giants. And then he followed Parcells to Dallas and kind of like revitalized himself. Went to the Saints, and then all of a sudden this guy's like, he's a stud. Like, he does get it.
Yeah. But I just, I thought he was that guy that, like, his legacy, the legacy is safe. I guess with Peyton, there was debate of like, did he underachieve or overachieve in New Orleans? But I just thought he was the guy that, cushy job at Fox, Super Bowl winner. Like, you have to pay him a shit ton of money to go somewhere. I
feel like he's a coach, though.
He's been good, and he's been good with the most, overrated, hyped up quarterback that I have seen in a long time. I am not a Bo Nix guy at all.
So I kind of wanted the Giants, if he fell down into the lower half of round 1 last year, I kind of wanted the Giants to maybe trade up and grab him at the time, only because you needed a quarterback and Daniel Jones wasn't the guy. And then I saw him play for Broncos last year, and I was like, I don't know, this guy's like hit or miss. Like, when he's playing well, he looks really good. And then when he's terrible, it's like, oh my God, this guy is not starting quality material here.
I think your guy's better.
Oh, well, and I think our guy is, but again, I'm not going to base anything off of three games, right? But I will say, in the preseason for the Broncos, there was a play. They played the Buccaneers, or Buccaneers or 49ers, one of the two. And Bo Nix like drops back. He kind of spins, and I think there's pressure. And he just he throws the ball, and I think it was a illegal grounding or whatever, and he was in the end zone. So they were like, yeah, that's a safety. That's intentional grounding in the end zone. It's a safety. And he was just kind of like, he walked off. And I'm like, okay, it's preseason. You don't want to really drill down, but like, you can't do that. Like, you have to, you got to be conscious of what you're doing, even if it's preseason. Yeah, and I was like,
those quarterbacks. I mean, he's got a big arm. But I'm out on the quarterback. I'm out on the risk-averse quarterbacks. Like, especially when you have the skill set, whatever. If you're Jacoby Brissett, who might start against the Packers tomorrow,
right? You're a lifer backup.
Yeah, but like, that's fine. You can be risk-averse. Like, if you're somebody that has a skill set to be a difference maker, but that's what look. I'm not saying Dart. We have no idea if Dart's going to be great or not. I just think
showing flashes.
He's got a much higher ceiling to me than
way higher.
Than
Yes,
Bo Nix.
No argument here.
He's got the the running ability.
He just has an I hate to call it the it factor because it's so stupid, but he has that kind of it factor that Knicks does not have.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I mean, I think that's, whatever that is, like, I think it's probably important in New York.
I think winning is important in New York. I will say that this is a quarterback that New York has not seen, right? Like this kind of personality. And this is what's really weird being a Giant fan is that this team, maybe the 80s Giants with the defense, they had a swagger to them and an attitude. And, that was probably the most tangible unit to what this offense could have with Dart. But they haven't seen a personality probably since Lawrence Taylor, like Jackson Dart, where this kid is, he's like bigger than the position, right? I mean, if he is good and he looks to be that way,
Yeah.
he will be like megastar. Like NFL will take him and put him right in front of every TV camera. I mean, they'll just be like, dude, you're it. He has it.
You haven't put lofty expectations on him or anything.
No, I'm just saying
the biggest Giant since Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, right. Well, here's the deal, right? I'm just saying this personality, right? He's got the chain, he's got the swag, he's jumping, he's dancing, like he's a personality. He's not an Eli football player, or a Phil Simms country hick. Like this kid is like built for the camera. Like that's what he wants the camera. And I don't know if LT wanted the camera. LT just wanted to kick everybody's fucking ass from fucking sideline to sideline. But that was perfect for the 80s cameras, right?
Right. Now that you mentioned, just real quickly, my wife is a big Iowa Hawkeye fan. She went to Iowa.
Okay.
So on Peacock, or the game was on Peacock. It was Indiana.
Game was on the cock?
It was on the cock.
That's what we always say. I was just laughing. So stupid. Can you name it something else? Why would you go Peacock? Whatever. Anyway,
the NBC.
Yeah, I know because Peacock is their.
They probably want the cock jokes.
They want the cock jokes, so they got it. So your wife's watching Iowa on the cock.
Yeah. So we got Indiana, Iowa on the cock, and I was in the game. I was like, "Oh my, is that Phil Simms?" And like,
oh, is that what he's doing now?
Well, it was the first time I heard him. I heard him actually do a random radio game last year while I was driving.
Okay.
Like Phil Simms, I think, was a horrible analyst, but like it was like so entertaining to listen to. Whether it was like the 700 times a game that he would say, like, "Well, you talk about,"
yes, yeah. He was
or
terrible.
just like,
but he was the number one team. The number one fucking team.
And he'd still do the same thing. Or he would he'd ask himself, he'd ask a question to himself. Like, he's like, well, you're wondering why they ran the ball. Well, it's because they had 6 guys in the box.
And people hated him.
Well, Phil.
And you had Nance trying to work with that. And people hated him forever. But CBS was like, no, that's our guy. And you want to know what's even crazier to think about his play-by-play career on the number one team ended because he blew a fart into Jim Nance's fucking face. I mean, are you kidding me?
Forgot about
that. That was it. The legend has it that offseason, Nance went right in and he was just like, yeah, I'm done. And specifically pointed to the fart incident.
Well, I think that's like why, whatever you think of their team, like, you compare Nance with Tony Romo, like, and just how that's why Nance is like loves Tony Romo.
Yeah, I've kind of gone everywhere with Tony Romo. I hated him. Now I kind of like him. I don't know. I don't know where I am.
No. I'm the same way. I'm love or hate with him, but I'm just talking about like. Because the last few years of Nance and Simms, it was like those guys just did not have chemistry, So it's like, okay, bring Tony Romo in and, whatever, the guy's making jokes and, at least, bring some things to the table. And, everybody says it's like Nance is, like Nance is so protected. There was one week, I think, where like Nance was off and like they ended up.
Hold on.
All right,
I got to pull this up. Hold on 1 second. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was like, this is
this
just
is gonna be much better.
This is so classic. So okay, I'm hoping you can hear this. So here we go. I can't kill that. So
field goal try.
Can you hear this?
And then got to remember the win. We've talked about that, and I think it's warmed up though, Jim. Just to talk about the atmosphere of the game. What do you think?
And he fucking
Are you warmer now than you were earlier in the game? Remember the win. We've talked about that, and I think it's warmed up though, Jim. Just to talk about the atmosphere of the game. What do you think? Are you warmer now than you were earlier in the game, or are you just numb?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm worried about you.
I forgot about that.
So
And
awesome.
by the way, did he said like 3 times in that clip, like we talked about?
Yeah, that's right. Your point there exactly. It's nuts. It was so. I mean, still to this, and I didn't even know about it when it happened, and it wasn't until like years later that you heard about the story. And then it was like, oh my God. And Nance walked off camera. Off camera.
That's insane.
Hysterical. So give me a call here. We got the Packers Cardinals tomorrow -6.5. I'm gonna be honest, I took the Cardinals in the 6.
I don't feel great about it, but I think it's a get right game for the Packers. I think
there we go, the get right game.
Yeah, I think, I think they win by a couple scores, or at least if it's 6.5, like I feel confident that they'll.
I mean, they should. They should win this game by double digits.
Arizona was on a roll last year and they slaughtered them at home.
No, that I don't remember because not my team. So not to mention all the years of college and football. I have trouble remembering this year, much less games from last year.
No, it's very fair. I think they cover.
All right, so they covered. All right, so hey, let's do this again because what do you call? I've had a blast, and we probably should have done it sooner than this, but I'm glad I was able to grab you for a good solid hour, chalk up eat up a little bit of your Saturday there.
Dude, nothing I would rather do on my Saturday more than appear on the Broken Helmet.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Yeah, man.
All right, good deal, dude. Everybody, thank you for listening. Peltz, thank you as always. We'll do this again, and we'll talk some more later. Everybody else, tune in. I'll try to get that Let's Bet show in at some point in the next 24 hours, at least before they kick off. When that'll be, who knows. But anyway, peace out. Peltz, see ya. Everybody else, thanks again.